Welcome back to Honest to Goodness, where we give you our honest opinion on good entertainment. Cannot talk tonight, so forgive me. Today we are going to be talking about the third episode of season 9 of When Calls Heart.
Yay! I know, I'm excited. I think this one it was a toss-up between episode 2 and episode 3 as my favorite, but there's like so many laugh out loud moments for me in episode 3 that just made me love everything about it.
Yeah. So in this episode, Elizabeth's novel is officially in Hope Valley.
Yay!
Yay! You can
as an aspiring writer, I know the excitement. So
yeah, she actually has a published book, you guys.
Self-published, but yes.
Yeah. And you always put the link in the show notes, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you guys want to buy her book, which does involve Mounties, go check them out.
Yep.
So it's finally made its debut. Not talk. It's like midnight right now. Sorry. It's like flying off the shelves. Everyone is in town is walking around town with the book in their hand. No lie. So like obviously it's like being kind of a big hit. And you know, she's obviously excited and everything. Well, she hosts a book signing. Well, guess who comes up with a book? Our beloved Monty, still in an arm sling from his accident, comes up and she's of course not even looking up, asks, "Who do I make it out to?" He says, "To the one who got away. By the way, it's NATH."
Yeah. I love when she just looked up at him and was like, ha ha. Yeah.
And Lucas actually agrees and says that's a good description.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I found it hilarious. I loved it.
I did too.
I was like, that was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact he even got a book and even wanted her to sign it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I love personally that they're kind of a little threesome. They're in their own little way. Like, I don't know. I love the respect that the men have for each other. Like, it's not like I won, get out of the way type thing. It's like they genuinely have respect for each other and care for each other.
Yeah, because after that exchange, she was like, "How's the arm doing?" He's like, "It's still giving me a little bit of trouble." He's like, "So are you on duty?" He's like, "Bill's, doing it, but mainly for the most part, because I mean, he can't ride a horse right now with him being injured,
right?
Even though he is very much itching to do it."
I don't think I've ever seen Nathan quite so grouchy as he was in this episode either.
I know he was not liking the idea of the fact that he cannot be on horseback right now, and especially with everything happening with Newton. So Nathan buys a book. He does all of that. But of course, Nathan, being a stubborn patient, he walks out of the books, out of the library where she was hosting the signing, and Nathan's walking down. He's kind of opened it, and I love that she brought back the fact that he's an impeccable Mountie and a treasured friend, and I just love that because that really is the kind of that kind of sums up their relationship, is that she sees him like she respects the fact that he's a Mountie and thinks he's really impeccable. That's really the perfect
description. Yeah.
description. And well, Faith comes up behind him and she's like, I see that you are up and about sooner than I'd like you to. And he's like, I can't stay cooped up. And I feel like that really is how Nathan is. I don't see him being someone who can just lay in the bed all the time. Like, for crying out loud, he even got up and tried to get out of the bed to go check up on Newton while he was still in the infirmary, and fell down. So, and the fact that he nonchalantly told Faith in the same sentence that he wanted to go and get on a horse and go see Allie again. And she's like, absolutely not. He's like, but she's been gone a month, thinking that the reason why he was going was the reason why she didn't want him to do it. No, it has nothing to do with the fact that you're going to go see Allie. It has everything to do with the fact that you just got in an accident, you have a concussion, and you have like a dislocated shoulder or whatever's going on with his arm. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously later in the episode, we kind of see him dealing with Newton. And Newton's actually not really happy with Nathan right now. He's not wanting to get anywhere near him. And that could be for so many reasons. Like, and I saw someone joking around Instagram and they were like, it sounds like Nathan needs a horse whisperer. And they had like the photo of Amy from Heartland.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that would have been perfect.
Yeah. No, I think I appreciated the little storyline there, and even Nathan saying, you know, like he might have more trauma, or however it was he worded it, from this accident than he was willing to admit. Because like, obviously with me going through my mom's death and stuff, it's like I think the kind of funniest but best summed up advice I've been given was my mom used to talk about putting your big girl panties on, like, you know, just kind of, you know, just get her done, you know. And so I text that to one of my friends and she was like, well, put on them big girl panties, but don't pull them up too high, you'll give yourself a wedgie. And I just busted out laughing. I thought, that's internet worthy right there. But it really did sum it up, because it's like, you know, there's a time to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going, and then there's a time to realize if you pull on those bootstraps hard enough and long enough, they're going to break.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not weak to acknowledge the fact you just went through something traumatic and you need to be able to process that. And
I feel like it's harder. And I want to say, and I could be wrong, but this is how I feel. I feel like it's harder for men like Nathan to admit when they've been hit hard by something.
I feel like it's hard for men, period.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, especially in this society, with how things are, you know, especially especially in the South. Yeah. It can be hard for men to feel like they can actually express their emotions and how they feel. Whether it's when they're scared or, you know, that kind of thing.
Sorry, but whoever came up with this thing that men aren't supposed to cry?
Crazy.
I mean, I go to church with this guy that he will get up in front of the church. He's my age, and he will get up in front of the church and just be crying over just how good God's been to him and whatever. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I appreciate seeing a grown man, you know, a young grown man, because they're. I mean, I firmly believe particular, but it's like that is willing to show his emotion, that isn't ashamed of his tears. And I'm like, personally, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I will say it's, you know, that is definitely sounds to me like a weeping spirit, because sometimes that kind of spirit will come upon you, like God will give you that type of spirit upon you. But and I love that May was so understanding and helped bring that out. And she's like, you both went something through trauma, not just physically, but emotionally. Yeah. And even mentally. I mean, Faith even said you have a concussion. You don't even remember what happened. And maybe that's a good thing. So you don't have to keep reliving that.
Yeah.
You know, that's
or
a
feel
blessing.
guilty that you don't know what
Yeah,
happened.
or don't feel guilty because that just comes with the trauma physically, the physical head trauma. You know,
I think Nathan was kind of beating himself up because he didn't remember what happened, and he was like, maybe I
what
was
if I
going
caused
too
it?
fast. Maybe
Yeah.
what if I wasn't paying attention, whatever, and maybe if he's the one that made this happen to Newton, and she's like, no,
Yeah.
like you couldn't have done anything any different,
And it makes it even sadder because we all know how much Nathan and Newton, how close they are, and how much he loves Newton. And like it wouldn't be just, it's like we were even talking about the last time, because they were obviously talking about how the Mounties need to start learning how to drive and things like that, and how he wasn't willing to want to get up. Like he was having that little one-on-one discussion with Newton, talking about how, can you imagine me and you in a car making rounds, like,
yeah,
like he doesn't see Newton as a form of transportation.
no,
Newton is his best
partner.
friend. He's his partner. He's his, everything. He looks at him and loves him just as much as he probably looks and loves Allie. And I'm not even exaggerating. That probably is how it really is for him.
Yeah.
So like, I can't imagine what Nathan is going through mentally when he sees that Newton doesn't even want to get near him.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how hard that is to like want so badly to fix things and then not be able to do it.
No.
And I think that's why he kind of got so frustrated with May in this episode, whenever she didn't really want to work with him, with Newton, because he wants to be a part of it. He wants to be able to be the one to kind of help. He wants to be a part of whatever he has to do to help Newton and help himself to be able to move past the trauma. Because that's
and also he wants it done like that.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna happen,
No.
Which again I can relate to.
Yeah.
I mean, we
everyone can relate to wanting something to be done like that.
Yeah,
especially when it has anything to do with trauma and pain and emotion. Yeah. So I mean, I loved this episode too because of the fact that it showed Nathan in that state. And once again, Allie gets mentioned and his whole face lights up. And
he's such a proud dad. It is so cute.
He is, and I can't wait for her to call him dad. I can't wait to hear her call him dad.
I hope, like, I don't know. There's a side of me that feels like she'll always call him Uncle Nathan, but there's a side of me that really hopes she does start calling him dad.
And I hope that comes whenever she finally gets back. Like maybe she gets dropped off or something, and she's like able to run and be like, "Dad!" Like, oh, my heart would be like.
I think I will hear her screaming from Louisiana when that happens.
Probably. But anyways, so I'm looking at my little notes here again, guys. We've been literally doing this for the past 3 hours.
Yeah, it's literally about to hit 1:00 in the morning my time, guys.
Yeah.
So if we are acting a little delusional or exhausted,
or things are kind of getting or things are kind of running together and just like, yeah,
we are.
I will say this, I really love May and Nathan's conversations this episode because I feel like they had a lot of depth. There was apologies, there was kindness, her even like you can't really, like when I watched it, I noticed I couldn't understand it, what she said the first time, but the second time I heard it, she was like, so what made you decide to want to be a Mountie? Like she actually was like,
trying to get to know him for him.
Yeah, exactly. Trying and probably also kind of help get his mind off things a little bit, kind of relieve some of that emotional distress a little bit.
I love it. I love how about a cold drink at Yost's? And he was like, how about that? Like, I'm sorry, that was just like a cute little answer.
It was so cute. I will say it was kind of hard to see because he did get a little disappointed and stuff whenever she kind of dismissed him like that. But then of course he apologized. Like I said, he apologized for how he reacted to her kind of dismissing him at first. And then when she came to the ring, whenever he was kind of trying to get Newton around him and everything, she was like, I realize I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone if I do things with you guys together. So I'm glad that she was able to do that.
Guess who's back in town?
Wyman Walden.
The evil Mr. Walden. I like how we had like the Wicked Witch of the West hands going on. Like I said, guys, we're a little delusional. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, yeah.
If anybody's listening to this, you should just really watch our episode. A lot more sense.
It's better to watch things,
Yeah.
but if you want, yeah, it's better to watch us on YouTube than from us, because I swear we
Yeah, like, you know, if anybody doesn't remember who Wyman Walden is, he pretty much like stole Jesse and Clara's money, pretty much like made them bankrupt, and was trying to buy the saloon. He did something to Fiona, didn't he? Like he was like trying to bully. Oh, he was trying to like bully her into selling the barbershop.
yeah.
Dude,
That's how
so,
she
I
got
mean,
his business card. Remember, she
Yeah.
came to like Nathan, and he's like, "How'd you get his business card?"
Yeah, yeah. I loved that scene between them so much. It was hilarious. But
I feel like that probably took them so many times to do, because those two probably were cutting up that way too much.
oh yeah. But boy, Bill was back to himself or himself.
Yes, he was.
When he saw him come into town, he's like, "Look, I can't like
Kick you out of town for no reason.
Yeah, but
I can sure make sure you stay
yeah.
stay good while you're here.
I did think it was interesting that Elizabeth didn't really remember him though when she ran into him at the end.
Yeah, because didn't she get him last? No, someone went and got him because he was like in the saloon having like a meeting with all of like the town business owners or whatever, and I think she came and got him.
Yeah, something. I don't remember. I mean, like even when he told her like where he met her and stuff, she was like, "Oh, like it didn't even dawn on her." So I thought that was a little.
She did have a lot going on, but still, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Mr. Evil Walden is back in town. Mm-hmm. He had a meeting with Hickam, which made Gowan and Lucas a little uneasy.
And Bill like kind of got in Hickam's face over that one.
Yeah.
Okay, now that scene I personally found very hilarious. So Bill walks over to the bar and he was like, "Okay, give me an ale and pour it at a 45-degree angle because I don't want it to be all foam. You know, I want that."
That really is the only way that you can keep from having the foam, because I bartended for a while there.
So the Hickam walks up and like orders an ale or whatever. And so the bartender hands Bill his drink, and it's like way more foam than he wanted. So he's like, "Here, take this and pour me an ale at a
45-degree angle."
Yeah. So they have this conversation, like Bill's trying to tell Hickam, "You don't need to have anything to do with this guy, blah, 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 blah." And then like I was doing something at the particular time, so I didn't actually look up in time to see this, but I'm assuming it had even more foam when the second beer got handed to him. And by the time he saw that, the foam on Hickam's glass had like already almost dissipated. There was no foam to it whatsoever.
No. So what happened was he finally brought the other ale back, and it was actually right. And so Hickam grabbed the one that Bill gave him with all the foam and switched it with the new.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't catch what happened.
Yeah.
I had to down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I just remember the look on Bill's face.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard at that scene.
Guys.
What?
Gustav is Lucas's cousin.
Where did that come from anyway?
And why are we just now finding out?
Yeah,
even Bill was like
random thing.
Right? And even Bill was like, "Gustav's your cousin?
Why do you think he's still here?
Why do you think he's still here?"
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Bill, it was Gowan.
Yeah. Bill was the one that I think in episode 1 or 2, that when he walked up to the table, they were like said something to him, and he was like, You mean other than the fact that Lucas needs to get rid of Gustav and what?
No. They were asking him what he thought would be good for dinner. He's like, maybe come to the cafe so that way Lucas will kick Gustav to the curb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Bill's little snark. Like he is hilarious.
I do.
But he
And
has
I'm
these
glad
big
that Nathan is kind of getting there with his snarkiness, because I feel like they're really fixing to have some fun
Oh yeah.
with all the Mountie stuff and the judge stuff, as they like to say in the promos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and of course the best thing was Hickam kicking Bill out of his office.
I busted out laughing so hard, and then he was like, "Okay, I need you."
He's like, Bill was all like nonchalant, like laying back, like relaxing and everything. When he found that out, he was like, "What?" Like he was like,
he's like, "You're kicking me out of my office," and he was like, "The mayor's office," and he was like, I think he told him like he needed him out by the end of the week or something. He was like, if you need it until the end of next week, I can work with that, and gets up and walks out. And it's like.
And Bill's still looking there like shocked.
I cannot believe this.
I love it.
Like, what do you think you're doing? So one, and we kind of mentioned this last episode, but obviously Elizabeth's book has come out, and Morgan asked me a question earlier because Elizabeth starts getting some bad reviews for her book, and she is very upset by it. And honestly, like I don't even remember what the reviews were exactly. Morgan may remember more wording than I do. But
a lot of them just pretty much were against Elizabeth herself, saying that her writing was boring or dull or stuff like
shallow or whatever.
Yeah.
Like honestly, the only thing that came to my mind listening to that scene, as far as like in relation to the show, was when Nathan asked Elizabeth, "So what's in your heart?"
Yeah.
Because Lucas had been telling her she needed to put more heart into her story. So that was where my mind went on that. But you asked me something along the lines of what was going through your mind watching that scene, like what was going through your mind. And I was like, well, I said what was kind of going through my mind was that I could relate personally. I was like, I have received like one really bad review on my first book, which was co-written, but this girl, okay, in her defense, she was Canadian. So she is very proud of her country. She is very proud of the Mounties, very protective of all that stuff. So she is reading a American writing pretty much a fan fiction, is what that first book started off as. Not completely. I mean, it was their own characters and stuff, but it was sort of
being inspired by One Calls the Heart. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was not meant to be completely accurate. Or but at the same time, she basically said, I made a mockery of the Mounties. These were well-bred men, would never act like this, blah 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 blah. It was historically inaccurate, the places weren't right, blah, like all this long stuff that even other people were reading her review and going, did you read this book? Everybody else that had read the book was like, that is not the same book I read, Yeah. So I did receive like one really bad review for my book. But if y'all been around a little while, you know that 2020 I got to work on a movie. And that movie has received a lot of great reviews, but it has also received a lot of hate. Like literally from the time we were trying to make it, like before we ever even started filming, we were getting so much hate over it, which is ridiculous. But I was like, I loved how one of the producers handled the bad reviews. He made like a video of the bad reviews, and he starts listing off all these, it's a cheap production, terrible acting, blah, like all these negative reviews, like tearing it apart reviews. And then he went, wait, this isn't Mayberry Man. This is Star Wars. This is The Godfather. This is Jaws, whatever. And like pointing out these blockbuster films that are iconic that people are leaving these bad reviews on, and just showing you're never going to make everybody happy. Like to not just look at the reviews on this and go, oh, it must be terrible, because look at what they're saying about this, that has made however many billions of dollars at this point, So I was like, I really, really appreciated that. So that was what kind of went through my mind watching that scene. But you said a lot of people were like saying something about like it was a jab at Team Nathan or something.
Yeah. So when I first saw the scene, I just thought that it was a classic, scenario that you would have when you had the main character writing a book. Be to think about like the reviews, the reactions. Like we were already getting people like Molly who was thinking that Juliet was based on her and just getting really just offensive over it and all that kind of stuff. Like that typical kind of stuff when you are a writer and you're in the midst of a small town that already that's always had a problem with gossip and crazy rumors and stuff like that you would have them having reviews. And especially with it being her first book. Yeah, it's reality. Especially with her having it being her first book. And I mean, you saw how long it took Helen to kind of pick through it. Like you saw the little pencil that she got in the letter from her. So Lucas gives Elizabeth a letter from his mother, who was the editor and publisher of her book. The pencil was this long. Okay. Not even gonna lie, I'm gonna bring out a pen that I have from my desk. This regular pen, that thing was probably this small. So she made a lot of markings on Elizabeth's writing, but even with the best editor or publisher, you're still gonna have people not like the book,
right?
So I didn't really think anything more of it other than the fact that, hey, that's this classic scenario, real stuff that happens to anyone that has ever written a book or fan fiction or just whatever. You put your voice out there, you're vulnerable, you're gonna get that stuff. And Lee said that to her. She's like, you're out. Lee or Rosemary one said that to her. You're out, you're putting yourself out there. Actually, it was Lucas. You're being vulnerable, you're putting yourself out there, and some people are just gonna bite back.
But he said, don't let anyone callous your heart.
Yes.
I love that.
I did too. And that was exactly what he needed to say to her. But I went online after I watched the episode, and all I saw was a bunch of Team Nathan people and a few I take that back. I don't really have a whole lot of Team Lucas people on my thing. I only have those two girls, and I didn't see anything from them. I think they're girls. Anyways, not the point. But I was like, they were saying that was the writers and all their way of bashing Team Nathan and them for their reaction to the finale. That wasn't my first initial reaction to that at all. I did not think about that, honestly. But when I saw that, I was like, you know what? If the shoe fits, wear it. At the end of the day, what they said was right. They're fictional characters, and they were just they're just trying to tell a story. And even what they were saying, you're not going to be able to please everybody.
No.
You can't do it to please other people. If you do that, you're going to get bit, you're going to get burned, you're going to get a bunch of people you're going to get negative reactions.
You're going to lose yourself because everybody.
You're going to lose yourself. Yeah, because you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for other people. If you have passion for something, whether it's writing, singing, or playing an instrument, or doing this or doing that, but you're only doing it for other people, whether it's your family members, your friends, or just to get any kind of praise whatsoever, then you're going to lose yourself, and you're going to lose it, and you're going to completely lose the passion that you had for it in the beginning. Like if me and her, we're passionate about this show and this podcast and being able to we're putting ourselves out there, vulnerable. Can't talk. Sorry. And we've gotten a few people attack us for our opinions and for what we say and what we do or what we don't do. So we know a little bit that, like she said, she wrote a book and she put it out there and she got a bad review. it just comes with it.
Comes
And I
with the
mean,
territory.
yeah. And my thing is this, Erin, even if Erin was saying exactly what she said was right. The reviews that have been coming out and stuff are mean. And they're not just attacking the characters, the fictional characters that aren't even real. They're also attacking the actors that play them. I saw some people commenting on Kevin and Chris and Elizabeth and Fiona and all of these other people's Instagram accounts, along with Brian Burr and John Tinker, just ripping them to shreds, not even the characters. And I can't imagine as an actor playing this character and being like torn apart because of my character's choices.
Here's my thing. I was on Amazon last night looking up something, and somehow or another ended up, I don't remember, in my search on some of the Aurora Teagarden mysteries, which I love, by the way.
Yeah, I love that. I love Ken.
This person was talking about the in a review was talking about the episode where she got married, and spoiler alert, a little late, but anyway, but she was like, oh, I was actually surprised I got married. I was expecting her to leave him at the altar. I don't like her. That was just what I was expecting out of her. And I was thinking, okay, I'm sorry, but if you dislike the character that much, first of all, it's not Ro. But if you dislike her character that much, why the heck are you watching this?
Like, it's her show.
Yeah.
It's her show. Her name was literally in the title.
Yeah. Okay, if you dislike this person that much, quit watching the show. Just like if you disagree with somebody, scroll past the comment or scroll past the post or unfollow them or block them if it makes you feel better. But just, you have that power to not do something.
But and I will say this, with celebrities, they don't have that power. They have to watch how they react. They have to watch how they respond. They have to watch what they do. You know, they are put in the public eye. They can't respond a certain way without getting scrutiny. You know, I remember Erin posted something.
All of these comments and whatever, and I'm sorry, they read them. And it's like they have to read all these comments and they can't reply.
Yeah.
They can't defend themselves. And it's like you are literally kicking somebody while they're down and apparently taking great pleasure in it. Yeah. And that's just sick. I'm just being honest. That is just sick to treat any human being that way. I mean, you wouldn't treat an animal that way.
Yeah. Right. I mean, like, Chris McNally is not Lucas Pichard.
Yeah.
Kevin McGarry is not Nathan Grant. And Aaron Keiko is not Elizabeth Thornton. They can't, just like, and yes, I get it. Erin is an executive producer. But that doesn't mean that she gets to choose exactly what her character does or doesn't do. Yes, she has a voice, a little bit more of a higher voice than Chris and Kevin, but at the end of the day, she still can't choose who she gets to pick or who she doesn't get to pick or how it gets chosen or how it gets done at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, that's like when I worked on the movie that I worked on, there was one line which like in the movie itself, it didn't come across as awkward, but there was one line that the leading lady delivered that I was like, that's not how she needs to say that line. Y'all, I'm a snob. Like, I'm seriously a snob. I do not know how to act, but I know what to expect out of somebody else's performance. I mean, seriously, like, I have watched enough TV and enough behind the scenes and whatever. I feel like I could direct a pretty decent movie, because I know what kind of quality to expect out of somebody and whatever. But I remember looking at our, I guess, executive producer and going, that's not how she needs to say that line. And he's like, huh? And I was like, she doesn't need to say it this way. She needs to say it this way. There needs to be that pause for effect. And there he nodded his head and he was like, I know, but I can't tell them that. That's the director's call. I mean, he's like, I can't speak up. I can't say anything. I'm just a producer.
And he's an executive producer, just like Erin. See, that goes to show you that there's only so much that you can do. But at the end of the day, it's the director, the writers, and the showrunner who decide the big decisions. At the end of the day, it's John Tinker, Brian Bird, and the other writers, along with the CEO of Hallmark.
Again, I feel like the life experience that I do have helps me a lot in like how I perceive things with that, definitely. But Okay,
Yeah,
so
I saw that reaction. I was like, that's not exactly how I saw it. And honestly, it could very well be why they did that. But you know
that
what?
sounds
I feel
pretty
like
good.
that it needed to be said. Because
Yeah,
I'm
and
not gonna lie. I mean, the harshness, the bitterness, the anger that came out of the finale, and we get it.
yeah,
Me and her, we were crying, we were angry, we were upset for months after it happened. We get it. But not once did me and her ever feel angry enough to really attack Aaron and them of all people.
yeah.
And honestly, I can understand them still being upset because that's their characters.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron has played this character for almost a full decade.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, like Elizabeth Thornton, is a part of Aaron. And I think she has every right to feel upset when people are bashing her character,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And
Yeah.
especially because like she has no control over her character. And as much as she probably wished that things would have been different probably on the show, she can't.
Yeah.
So honestly, kudos to them for putting that in the episode. I think it needed to be said.
Yeah.
And I feel like to those that are getting offended by it, if it wasn't true, you wouldn't be offended.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
That's always what I've been told is that when someone gets so offended by something that wasn't even full on made known, like me and you didn't catch it, but somehow you, to whoever caught that and thought that right off the bat,
yeah. If that's
maybe
even what they meant, like if that is even
if that
it,
even,
and
I
it
don't,
could
I mean,
totally be
we don't
just
know.
yeah.
We don't know. But if it was put in there for a purpose, I mean, I don't blame the writers for wanting to put that in there. I don't blame John Tinker and Brian Bird for putting that in there. I mean, I'm sorry, but they were scrutinized for months. They
Mm-hmm.
still are. I still see photos of, and edits and comments and blog posts that just bash the mess out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even get on Twitter anymore. Who knows what a bloodbath it was? It is over there.
Yeah.
But anyways,
yeah, I feel like my biggest like first laugh out loud moment with this episode, like I literally almost called Morgan. I was laughing so hard. Was obviously Elizabeth's book has been released. She's upset by these bad reviews, justly so.
the author would.
I mean, again, I've been in those shoes, so I get it, so she doesn't realize that Lucas has planned this party for her, or it might have been the whole town. I don't know who spearheaded it, but
I'm pretty sure it was Lucas.
It probably was Lucas. So he ends up in a conversation with Gustav, and he's like, yeah, she showed up about an hour ago. I sent her outside, sent her up on the balcony and told her to wait for you. So Lucas goes up there, and Elizabeth is like all down in the dumps, and well, he has to somehow get her downstairs to this party, and she's like standing out there looking over Main Street like he always does. She's like, oh, I see why you think it's so peaceful. And he's seeing people arrive to the party, and he was like, yeah, why don't you come over here with me when whatever. You can tell she's looking at him funny. So she steps over there to him, and they're talking, and I don't even remember, but my like bust out loud moment was when he saw Mike come walking up, which I'm sorry, like, yeah, like all these people come here regularly, so I don't see why it should really be that big of a deal for her to see some people coming in. But I guess if she saw like everybody coming in, she might think something. But
he's probably just so nervous and wanted to make sure that she did not get any suspicions that he worried about every little thing.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you can tell that he was just like so amped up and just wanted to make sure. Because like when he first found out that Gustav said that she was here, he kind of freaked out a little bit. He's like, don't worry, I brought her in from the outside steps, so she never came in the building. So yeah.
But what was it he said? Like, but first a kiss or something. He like grabs her.
Yeah, and he like grabs her and like swings her around. Yeah,
and his kiss
and like plants a kiss on her.
Yeah, with his eyes open and cut down to the street.
And Mike at first doesn't know where to go. He's like, trying to figure out where to go. And then he finally sees that he can finally go like towards the actual saloon. He like bolts. He starts running.
Oh my gosh, I cracked up. Like that had to probably be one of my favorite. Like, okay, I'm kind of with you. Some of their kisses still make me cringe. But out of their kisses, that one's definitely in the top 2.
Yeah.
Because it was just so stinking hilarious. So Lucas like keeps trying to get her to come downstairs. And she doesn't, she's like, oh, I'm just not really sociable tonight. And he's like, oh boy, a little bit later, aren't you even just a little bit hungry? And he's like, just sitting there.
I think she even like was saying something about the stars and how beautiful they are. And he's like, yeah, but I think a storm's coming. She's like, there's not a cloud in the sky. And he's just like, work with me here. Like, can you please? Like, you can tell he's like dying inside and he wants to so badly just like make her go inside.
He was being so sweet. Like he really was.
He didn't show
her what she seemed to need at the time. And,
he didn't seem like that agitated. He was just like, I don't know what to do because people are downstairs. She doesn't want to go inside. I don't know what to do. There's food down there. Everybody's like, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it was more of a panic than frustration.
Yeah, it was more of like a panic, not an agitated way. He was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Like there's food down there. Everyone probably wants to eat, but they're probably waiting for her to come in and it's going to waste. And like Gustav's probably getting sick of this and
Yeah. I mean, kind of the thought that went through my mind when he was like, are you sure you're not getting a little bit hungry? And she's like, no, not really, and whatever. I mean, I'm sorry, but if this was me and my boyfriend was like keeping on saying stuff about like going inside and then he finally starts asking if I'm hungry, I think I would eventually be like, are you hungry? Kind of taking a hint, he might be hungry and my needs are not the only ones that need taken care of right now. Like, I'm sorry, I think I would be like, well, I'm not hungry, but if you're hungry, we can.
I mean, I really would have started getting suspicious whenever he was trying to make a clear night sky into a storm.
Yeah.
To get me inside. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. I love when he's finally like, okay, I was trying not to say anything. I wanted this to be a surprise, but there is a saloon full of people down there. Whatever. And he's like, I'm so sorry, whatever. And she's like, no, thank you. Like that was so sweet. And he was like, okay, well, everybody has been keeping this a secret. I don't really know how to do that. Like they were going to be so disappointed. And she was like, oh, I could act surprised.
And he's like, look at a little suspicious, like, are you sure? He's like, oh, if you think
I loved how he actually laughed.
Yeah.
When she said that.
And she was like, she actually kind of got a little finish. She's like, oh, if you think Rosemary Coulter can put on a show, just wait till you see this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I loved it because Lee and Rosemary dead set was like, oh, she knows. That's full on acting. I was like, how did she give it?
I did not know this at all. I'm sorry, I'm no actress and I could have done better than that. Like I would have just been like,
less is best. I've always heard that when it comes to doing that kind of stuff. Less is best. All she does is like, oh my gosh, hi,
I was thinking literally, I probably would have walked in the door and just been like, you guys, and just started hugging people.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, like just,
oh,
like,
thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, so I mean, what do you do? I'm sorry, but yeah, so they have the party, and I love when Elizabeth and Rosemary are talking. I'm assuming it's the next day.
Yeah, it's the next day.
That they're sitting there talking, and Elizabeth's like, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I really wasn't surprised. No way.
Oh, I had no idea. And Elizabeth's like, okay. Like, like, I get it. I didn't fool you, Miss Theatric Queen.
Oh my word, that was so good.
Speaking of theater, guess what comes out of the black hole, y'all? Lee's failed attempt of building the best theater for Rosemary this side of the Rockies.
Yep.
I never thought we were ever going to get that storyline back.
Well,
so I'm glad
she, like they said, his broken promise, she released him from his promise before they ever even got married.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't feel like that's necessarily fair to Lee to call it a broken promise, but that's just me.
Well, you understand this is still Rosemary, even if she did break him from the promise. I mean, it's still that's true. I mean, you promised her a theater, you didn't do it. That's pretty big for Rosemary.
That is true.
But yeah.
Okay, you were talking about how everybody in town's walking around with a book in their hands. How adorable was Ned, like just following Florence and Molly around everywhere with his nose in that book? Like,
yes, like Ned is full on me whenever I start a book. Very rarely am I able to put it down.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I'll put it down for work and I'll put it down.
Like, even at the party, he's like, I finished what I start. I only have 22 more pages to go.
And Florence didn't even bat an eye. She's like, okay, you go over there and finish, and I'll go with Molly to talk about interior design or whatever.
Yes.
Because Molly all of a sudden now thinks that she needs to go into interior designing.
Yeah. But speaking of Molly, though, the fact that she thinks this little coquettish character, a redheaded character in this book, is based on her, and I mean, she is like so offended, and she finally like just blurts it out to Elizabeth, like, "Don't you think it's a bit obvious?" And she was like, or no, I don't remember what it was she said, but Elizabeth was like, "It wasn't supposed to be that obvious." And Florence was like,
and then Florence like, "I've been defending you." Yeah. And she's like,
well, Julie, my sister thought it was obvious too. She was not happy. And they were like, your sister? And she was like, yeah, Juliet, the redheaded girl that
Juliet, Julie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got some shopping to do. I'm gonna go.
Elizabeth's look, like when it dawns on her, like
ooh,
oops. I forgot this episode, seriously, like just so many good laughs in it.
Oh yeah, like I can't remember what kind of brought it on, but it's Joseph and Minnie, and he makes the comment that the longer she stays married to him, the smarter she gets.
Oh, it was when she suggested that he take Cooper to work with him.
Oh yeah, because we're still trying to figure out what's wrong with Coop and why he's kind of acting out and why he doesn't want to go to church.
Yeah,
I love this one.
I really do.
We spoke mainly a lot about it in the last episode.
Yeah. We went ahead and talked about it, but that he is upset over Angela's blindness and stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's like every other probably. I mean, I know all of us have at least once asked the question why about something that's going on in our lives, like why this happened, why that happened, and stuff. But I love that it's not about him directly. It's like he wonders why Angela was the one that got blind, not him.
Mm-hmm.
But then it comes out that they don't actually know about the fact that the doctor didn't want to treat Angela.
Mm-hmm.
They just know that Angela was a lot sicker than Coop, and that was it.
Yeah.
I love that we're still trying to learn about what happened to the Canfields before they came to Hope Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I'm ready for more of that.
We talked about the bad reviews for Elizabeth's book, but the letter, and again, Rosemary is like back to her old self, which I love. She's like so adorable. But when she's like, okay, it's not a review, but I just got this letter to the editor and you have to read it. And she holds it out and Elizabeth starts to take it and she pulls it back and she was like, it's just so, it's from this single mother outside of Jamestown. Like she keeps like, she's like, actually, can I just read it? Elizabeth's like, yes, please.
By the way, I did catch this. She said that the woman writes outside of Jamestown. That's where the set is.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's that's what the set is Jamestown.
Jamestown movie set. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's this woman who had lost her husband 2 years before and is trying to raise her daughters, and she's like, you put into words things that I wasn't able to describe, and the loss and the grief and the trying to explain to your children what happened, and just like, feeling confident in herself again because of Elizabeth's story. And again, I feel like I can kind of relate to that because my mom, when she helped me kind of proofread my books, she had never read them because my mom did not really read novels. Like, she had a library full of 500 plus books, and the majority of them are like spiritual, like theological type books. Like, my mother was just that way. She was a deep thinker, never stopped thinking. Everything had to have meaning, everything had to have purpose. She's the only person I know who could get a 30-minute sermon out of the word therefore and an hour-long sermon out of Rescue from Gilligan's Island. This was my mother. I am not joking at all. When we would have Bible study when I was in school, she would have the chalkboard. We had this big old 4 foot wide, or might have been bigger than that, I don't remember, 4 or 5 foot wide chalkboard that she would have full of words and phrases and whatever else, and then she would start underlining and then circling and then drawing clouds around it, and like everything, you couldn't even read what was on the board by the time she was done with it because she would like do stuff so much. So this was my mother. But so she had never read my books. She said that first paragraph or that first page was great. She just couldn't get past it. Like, she had kept trying to read the first book and she like could not get past that first page, and her mind would start drifting. Which I also had a mother that could not give me 1 minute speed drills for typing, because even staring at the stopwatch, she could not last for more than 45 seconds before her mind started drifting. So no joke, Catholic.
Wow.
I think she might have had a touch of ADHD, but anyway.
A touch? Poor thing.
Yeah, my personal diagnosis, I think she probably had some ADHD. But when she and I were going over my books and like reading, we were taking turns reading it out loud, like, reading through, checking for typos and whatever. And she was literally crying when we got done. And she was like, this is too real. She was like, you are bringing out things that, like, feelings that people have that they don't want to talk about and whatever else. And she was like, I'm proud of you. So, I mean, like, just to get that from my mother that had never read my books. And this was like several years after my first book had been published, and she had never even read it, but we were like republishing it. And so, I mean, to hear people that, although certain people might not like it, other people were touched by it. And that's what, like Rosemary said, these are the reviews that count.
Yeah.
Because the other people, it doesn't really matter.
Especially whenever it's a single mother like her.
Yeah.
And knowing that she lost her husband and going through that grief, and now having to try and not only help her children through what they're feeling when it comes to grief, but also helping them to understand how she's grieving and doing it together and not hiding things from her children. Because I feel like that's another thing, like, children need to see you grieve. So that way, when it comes for time for them, they, not everyone doesn't grieve the same. That's another thing. So when you do, so to know that this woman saw how Elizabeth was grieving, it helped her.
Sorry, y'all. It's like 1:30 in the morning.
So seeing her grieve and knowing how Elizabeth grieved, and then, having her grieve and everything, still being able to share, that was really special. I love that they added that in there too, because it also showed that hopefully, despite all the horrible reviews, that hopefully John Tinker and all of them were able to mainly focus on the good reviews, and that it didn't cause too much heartache for them.
We also saw Lee, like, with his first article that he wrote,
Yeah.
And it was like such a departure from Rosemary's style that she was refusing to publish it at first because of that. And Lee, we mentioned Lee's probably going to be going on a lot of walks, and that was because Lee just went for a walk.
Yeah.
At one point, he's like, "I'll be right back. I just need to just go for a walk." And then by the time he got back, she was like, "I'm going to publish your article." And he's like, "Why?" And she was like, "Because, like it or not, people are becoming more blunt and bold in their opinions, and kind of I need to be willing to accept that and to give them what they're wanting and not just try to make them conform to my idea of this, pretty much." Another thing we saw was Faith struggling as a doctor. It's like this is like really overwhelming her, and like Mr. Gowan telling her basically, she's like, "I'll see you later for your physical," and he's like, "That was with Carson," and she was like, "Well, I hope you'll still keep your appointment. I am a doctor." And he basically ends up telling her like, I know you're a capable doctor, but I'm just not sure I'm comfortable with letting a female doctor examine me. I know the feeling. I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable with a male doctor for just anything,
Yeah.
And
so, I feel especially back in those days.
Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, they just got to the point where men were allowed to see their ankles.
Yeah. So yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, and technically we still haven't seen them because they're still wearing stockings. So
that's true. That is true.
Just saying.
Yeah, but
I mean, if anyone knows what a physical is about, like not all the time do you just completely like, show everything, but most of the time yeah. So
yeah. So she is really struggling as a doctor, like as the female doctor in this town, and like trying to hold everything together on her own. So she finally breaks down after like refusing to do this. She finally breaks down and tries to call Carson. Sorry. Flashback.
By the way, Aaron saw that video and he shared it on Twitter, and I died.
That is so awesome. I love it. Oh my gosh. I have to say I did a pretty good impression, and I wasn't even trying. I was just being goofy. I wasn't trying to impersonate him. But anyway, so she tries to call Carson and she can't get through to him. So she's like, "Yeah, I'll leave a message." And she's like, "Just tell him Faith called." And she was like, "Oh, you don't have to leave a last name. He'll know who it is." And they're insistent upon having a last name. So it's like, it's so formal, so busy, so hectic, whatever. And it's like, you can just see the disheartenedness in her. Like, I'm never going to hear from him again. Like, just like it just crushed her.
Yeah.
Really.
And she probably also felt like if she showed any bit of
weakness
that Carson would feel like he need to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which he does, but anyway.
Does need to come back. I mean, Paul Green did say that he would come back. Yep. I mean, I think the only reason why he left this season was because his newborn baby was coming.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they never made an official he's leaving the show announcement, so that leads me to believe he could come back.
Well, I think that they were kind of leaving it for for him to come back, because as far as we know, I mean, they didn't necessarily officially say that Claire and Jesse were never going to come back. I mean, it kind of makes it a little bit more prominent that they would probably stay in Montana because of the land being free and all that kind of stuff like that, and then being happy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they would never come back. I think the only person that has ever just completely left the show and is never going to come back is Daniel. Lori got fired, so that was a whole different story. But she's technically back as Abigail. She's just not on when calls out. She's on when Hope calls.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. Which does kind of make me wonder about the whole situation between, then now, even if Carson does come back, that doesn't necessarily mean that her and Faith would get I had it right the first time. Him and Faith would get back together.
Yeah, we need sleep,
But,
y'all.
yeah, we do.
The only other note I had was, and you had kind of mentioned this, that like in a personal conversation with me, of that there seemed to be something going on with Gowan that made you wonder if he would leave town. And in that conversation with Lucas, he does say like there's a part of him that wonders why he didn't just keep going, just keep driving.
Yeah, that's why I had my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then he obviously tells him that he needs to read Elizabeth's book, which he does do.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want a copy of that book? I just want to see what it's about. Like,
and like the fact that Mei Su read it and was wondering if Nathan, or the Mountie in her book, was Nathan or her late husband.
Yeah. So.
And the fact that she was shocked that Nathan and Elizabeth courted, which they didn't do.
Yeah.
Did anyone think that they? I mean, I don't think that they officially courted. They never went on a date.
They never did officially court. I think his attempts to court her, as I feel like this is almost my situation of like it was so close.
Yeah, but not officially official. Yeah,
but it was like technically no, but in every
technically
respect,
yes.
Yeah. Like yes, but if you want to like go,
but it's like at the same time, us as Team Nathan people were like, they never dated. She never gave him a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of want to go to that part of it, but yeah. But it almost seemed like she got disgruntled. You know what I mean? It's like finding out that he had anything romantically with Elizabeth.
She changed towards him after that.
She definitely changed. She got cold on him. Mm-hmm. And that kind of made me upset because I'm like, come on, this dude can't get a freaking break.
Well, and like you were saying that people commented that Faith seemed jealous in that episode, and I'm like,
yeah, because he offered to get some, I think, a soda at no.
Mason was the one that
I think it was whenever she offered to go get cold soda from the Yosts.
Yeah, but Faith wasn't around for that. Like,
no, remember they were walking towards the pharmacy, and she was walking out of the infirmary, and we're pretty much right next to each other.
Oh, okay.
And she saw them walking together, and there was like a little bit of a look, and then she kind of shook it off and went back into the infirmary.
Okay.
And a lot of people kind of saw that as jealousy, but honestly,
I don't think so. I think she's protective of Nathan.
I think she's protective of Nathan. Yeah, and she doesn't really know
about Mei Su at this point.
Yeah, she doesn't understand what's going on with Mei Su, and plus, like, I'm pretty sure Mei Su is married to Jeffrey.
I'm not sure if she really is or not.
Honestly, my opinion, I know that Amanda Wong is technically an Asian American. Like, I think she was born in America, but she obviously has Asian parents and all of that kind of, she's an Asian American. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make her any less Asian, doesn't make her any less American. But I don't know if that's Mei Su. Yeah. I kind of wonder if maybe she immigrated to America and needed to marry.
I was gonna say, I almost feel like if he is her husband, that it was almost like I don't want to say this to make it sound bad, but quote unquote like child marriage, or almost like something she had to do,
like whether it's an arranged marriage or a marriage so that she could stay in America, or even a business deal. Mm-hmm. We don't know her family history. We don't know.
I almost
that kind of stuff happened too.
Being like an older man or something. Like,
They did put out who's going to be playing Jeffrey, so we will be seeing and meeting Jeffrey. So we will this season we will find out who Jeffrey is. It could be in the middle of the season, like on episode 5 or 6, or it could be the finale that we find out. Yeah. Either way, we will eventually find him. Mm-hmm. We will eventually meet him and figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's kind of why that look happened with FaZe. I think she saw that and was like, because I think she could also see where Nathan could probably fall hard very easily. because he kind of did with Elizabeth. He fell hard and he fell quickly and very easily with her. So she probably thinks that he would do the same thing with Mei Su. Which brings me to I think the only thing that we probably haven't talked about, which is Nathan's scene in the mercantile with Ned and Florence. He comes in to get a package, and of course Florence is behind the desk and Ned's in the back with packages. He asks about the packages. She says, "Oh, Ned just brought in the deliveries. He'll be right out." Well, he catches a glimpse of Mei Su going into the pharmacy from outside the window. And of course, Florence notices it. And she's like, when your heart's been like, what was it again?
Flaunted?
Yes. When your heart's been flaunted, don't be so quick to,
bounce back pretty much.
Bounce back to another. Yeah. To another. Yeah. And he kind of just gives her a look. He's like, I think I'm gonna go try and find that package myself. Because he's like, I'm not about to have this conversation with you. And of course, Ned comes out right on time with the package. And it's a new Manti hat because unfortunately, Nathan's previous one got squashed. Which Lucas happily delivers to him, by the way, in the last episode, which I thought was really, really funny.
Yeah.
So
I like the fact that they asked him, like in this scene too, have you read Elizabeth's book? And he's just
yes, that's the first thing that Florence asks him, and he's like, no, not yet.
I love how he says it with a smile too.
Yeah, like, and then when Ned asks him, he's just like, no, I haven't. He's like, oh, you also have a letter from. He also has a letter from Allie. He's like, oh, even better, because he's like, oh, my package, thank you. And he's like, and a letter from Allie. He's like, oh, even better, I love how again he just lights up when Allie's mentioned. So but then he comes after he asks about the book, and of course Nathan says no, he hasn't. He starts walking to the door, and he's like, I am not interested in a new courtship, and I do not have a flaunted heart. And he says it so seriously.
Yes.
And like Ned and Florence are just like, Ned's completely confused because he missed the other half of the conversation. So he's like not understanding why Nathan suddenly becomes so hostile.
Yeah.
And like Florence is just like,
anything you say.
She realized she kind of overstepped and she's like,
yeah. Yeah. I love how she looks out for him though. Like it's sweet. Like she meant it in a just taking care of and looking out for him way. So
yeah. I think we covered everything.
I think so.
If we miss anything, guys, just kind of put it down in the comments because it's like midnight and we're delusional.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
Coffee has not worked at all.
It probably won't until we go to bed. And then
and then we'll be wide awake staring at the ceiling.
Pretty much.
I'm going to be taking a couple of melatonin. Just to make sure.
Oh my gosh. Oh my word. All right, guys. Well, we are going to try to get somewhat on track with recording. And obviously this is going to be like coming out probably after the 5th episode airs, actually. Like we're so off right now, y'all. And
honestly, I wouldn't mind just like literally putting out all 3 of these episodes in 1 week and be like, have at it, guys.
We can. I don't care. Just tell me when you want them up.
I'm good.
I mean, I could release one like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because I usually release them like on Tuesday and Thursday if we have 2. I could release them on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Hey, that's fine with me. I don't care.
All right.
So we still have to put out our review for Feeling Butterflies.
We never did do the other Wedding Bell movies either.
Okay.
Killing her over here. Don't worry, we are not recording another episode tonight. It is almost 2:00 in the morning here. I'm out of it.
We're such ramblers that just love to talk. these Southern belles that just love to talk, I wouldn't have a problem. But the fact that every single one of these podcasts that we just filmed literally in a row have all been like almost 2 hours long each. So you can only imagine how long we have been talking about this show straight in a row. With like literally bathroom breaks in between. So oh my god.
Here comes the 2 a.m. delusion. Like delirium. Can't even come up with the right word.
We have skipped right past delirium and delusion. It's straight insanity.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think you guys will have to worry about us skipping out of turn again, because we're gonna be like, no, we are going to record. I don't care if you're in the hospital. Get your laptop ready, because
we're gonna have to work something out where we like get like if one or the other of us is not available, where we like call Nicole or Kristen or Hannah or somebody and go.
Get ready, guys. If you guys are seeing this and one of us starts messaging you about podcast episode, please say yes, so we don't have to do this again.
They're gonna be laughing so hard watching this. I'm literally going to have to tag them in the post when I do that and go a special message for Hey y'all, just in going back and editing this video together, I don't normally edit the middle. I usually chop off the very beginning when we mess up, and then the very end where I'm like, shutting everything down and whatever, and I add the intro. That's usually all the editing I do to these videos. But Morgan and I were recording this particular episode at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I chopped off like probably about 20 minutes of just delirious rambling here. So you're welcome for that. You're not being subjected to that, but just wanted to explain that there actually is a little bit of editing done in this video. If y'all would like for me to start editing some of our videos and for them to be a little more quote unquote concise, I suppose, let me know and I'll see what I can do.